Good evening, everyone. Yo, life is hard. Life is difficult. Everything seems so difficult. I'm always broke. I'll never find my soulmate. Work is a grind. And nothing ever seems to go my way. These are just some of the negative thoughts that can run rampant through our minds. And many people can probably relate to the idea that life doesn't always go your way, doesn't always go the way you want it to, doesn't always go as you hoped it would. But is that really true? The thought, that idea that things don't go our way, or is that just what we tell ourselves? Is that just what's in our head? Is it possible that we make life so much more difficult than it needs to be? Is it me? Whatsoever a man giveth, he shall also reap. Right? Doesn't that mean that whatever you send out into the world, that's what you get back? Karma, right? What he gives, he shall also then receive. So if you continue to imagine life as one that you're always broke, you're alone, that it's just so hard, then that's just how life will always continue to be. But tonight, be prepared to see your life in a new way. After tonight's conversation with this amazing cast, this amazing lineup of speakers hailing from Chicago, Texas, the West Coast, you'll find out that we actually have a lot of choices, that there are options. And not only that, but that we have a level of responsibility to elevate our own attitudes, our own thoughts. And when we do that, that in turn is what's going to change every area of our life. So I do have something to ask of you all, everyone here tonight, one thing. For the next 4 hours, or 3, I would like to ask you all to allow for only the positive thoughts to dance around in your heart and in your imagination, because the truth is that whatever one imagines, sooner or later, that's what becomes true. So tonight is about activating your superconscious. You know, it's that part of your brain that allows for the perfect ideas, those ideas that you've had probably on your best days, those ideas that you often probably deem as too good to be true. Tonight, I ask that you welcome only those thoughts. Entertain the idea that by divine right, life is beautiful. It's full of joy, and you already have all that you could ever need or want. My name is Elise Irvis. I self-identify as a business doula, and my goal is for all of us to build our own legacy while celebrating our culture. And I personally believe that this world needs more Black and Latino-owned businesses. I'm here as part of the La Cultura team, and I want to thank you all for being here this evening. Please give yourselves a round of applause. By the way, I'm wearing another man's treasure. She's located outside, so pick up something cute and professional. I hope that you all are as excited as I am, because we're about to find out how really good it could really get. So first, before I pass the mic off, I want to thank Harrisburg University and the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Jamal and Madonna wouldn't be here without y'all. Thank you. Of course, personally, Oche, I want to thank you for birthing this beautiful community event for us all to partake in. I want to thank our marketing and media teams. Shout out to Levels Ready Entertainment. And, you know, this is, like I was saying earlier, this is something that's really just existed in our minds. We've imagined it. We've thought about it. Some of us for years at this point. And so now to see it and to be in it in real life, it's just a testament to what can happen when you allow your superconscious to run rampant. Life can be beautiful and nothing but success. So cheers to you all. Jamal?
No intro. You turned it off for me, huh? Here we go. I was going to say no introduction needed. I'll introduce myself. Thank you. My name is Jamal Jones. I'm the program manager at the CIE, which is the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship here at Harrisburg University. I want to thank you all for being here. Just really quickly, thanks to the Harrisburg Housing Authority, specifically Mr. Sangor Mans, also Mr. Oche Bridgeford. Thank you to the City of Harrisburg. Thank you to Levels Ready Entertainment. Thank you to Elise Irvis for your partnership, continued partnership, and for their partnership in hosting the Net Worth Summit. Education, employment, entrepreneurship. At the CIE, we sit right at the cross section, of those three elements. So we're happy to be included in this event. Really quickly, some quick stats. The CIE's been in existence since 2019. During that time, we've received over 250 applications for assistance. We currently have 15 startups that we're working with through our incubator program. 80% of our entrepreneurs are Black or brown. 50% of those entrepreneurs are women. And to date, we've helped our companies raise $3.5 million in capital. We're creating the future workforce not only by preparing students through the university to leave the university and go into the workforce in STEM careers, but also by encouraging entrepreneurship and supporting the next wave of entrepreneurs. So thank you again for being here at the Net Worth Summit. My challenge to everyone is to meet 5 people here this evening who you don't already know, okay? The reason being is that our collective impact is much greater than our individual impact. There could be someone sitting here that could potentially add some value to what you're doing, or you could add value to someone else. So again, our relationships, I believe, are our strongest form of currency. So again, thank you all for being here, and we're looking forward to a great evening.
All right. How's everybody doing? Y'all doing all right? Y'all doing all right? This is the part everybody loves. Everybody stand up real quick. This is a gift from you to you. All right. Everybody standing. Clap your hands. Clap. Everybody clapping. All right. Repeat after me. Say, I. That was super weak. Say, I am somebody. I can succeed. Say, I am somebody. I can succeed. All right. Y'all can have a seat. It's the same old thing when you see me, because it's very important for us to remember that all that we do and all that we are comes from believing in who we are. Without a belief in who we are, we cannot go out and achieve what it is we were put on this earth to do. So as a young person, when you're doing well, you get people all the time patting you on your back. You're going to be somebody. You're going to do something great. You're going to change the world. You are somebody. You're somebody special. And the older you get, the group of people that tell you that grows smaller and smaller, especially when you're not in the limelight. So you have to tell yourself that. You wake up in the morning sometimes and you feel anything and everything but that. And those are the times when you need to hear it from you the most. So that's a gift from you to you. I am somebody. I can succeed. A young man, he didn't do it just because someone said that he couldn't do it, but then he does. I said a young man, he didn't do it just because someone said that he couldn't do it, but then he does. And shocks the whole world who didn't believe that he was somebody he could achieve, he could succeed. In the same streets that we breathe, we sleep and we cleave to the things we say that we want but don't really need. What happens when all that I have is all that I want but not what I need? I want to hold on to something that's real, y'all. I want to hold on to something that's real. I just want to hold on to something that's real, y'all. I want to hold on to something that's real. The reason why we're gathered here today is to have something tangible. Each one of our guests was specifically hand-picked for that reason. There are a lot of people that are on the internet, a lot of people that are, when you scroll through your timeline, that are so-called experts in many different areas. But when you really stop and think about it, you're like, there's nothing I can actually act on. These people have been handpicked because they came with something that you can implement starting today. Regardless of how much money you don't have, regardless of the network you don't have, regardless of the connections that you don't have, regardless of the job you do or don't have, today is about what can I do to build my net worth and to position myself and my family for generational wealth. So I'm very, very, very excited about everyone that we have on our panel today. I'm very excited about our mission today because our mission is singular. We come here, I can't, now we brought everybody here, but I came here to get something for me. And hopefully you came to get something for you. And for that, I think that's a good reason to be here. So everybody clap it up for that. And I always want to make sure that I acknowledge the reason why we're here is because of the vision of the Harrisburg Housing Authority and bringing partners together to put on an event called The Weekender. And in The Weekender, we thought, what better way to leave a lasting impression than to bring the city together and actually focus on building wealth. And so I just want to shout out our CEO of the Harrisburg Housing Authority, Mr. Singor Mans, for supporting this in the way that he's done over the years and continuing to push this thing forward. And Mr. Mans, would you have any remarks you want to make? Absolutely. Well, I guess with that, we'll get the show on the road. I'm not sure if there's another piece. Is there another piece? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, straight off of the news and the TV and the internet, we have the one and only Miss Precious Price, who will be moderating our panel. Clap it up for her. She flew all the way in from Atlanta, and she's got something very special that she has to share, but she also is very interested in hearing the stories of everyone else on our panel. So I think she was the perfect person to be a part of this. And I literally, like several of the people that are up here, this is how it happened. I saw them, I listened to what they said, and I sent it to Leanne. I said, let's book them. We got to book them. We got to get them on. Immediately, it didn't even take even a second thought. I knew that was something that we had to share with the Harrisburg community. So I'm very happy that she's a part of the panel as well as all the rest of our panelists. But without further ado, I'm going to let her begin to dig into the stories of our panelists gathered today.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. So as mentioned, my name is Precious Price. I am hailing originally from the south side of Chicago. Anybody from, no? Damn. Chi-town. Okay, all right, cool. We in Harrisburg, but it's fine. And I have been in Atlanta, Georgia for the last 5 years now. So my professional background is specifically within marketing. I've been doing marketing for the last several years now. And how that kind of feeds into how we are now in terms of being here with the Harrisburg Housing Authority is, as mentioned, I have a pretty popular docuseries and honestly like a pretty popular tiny house online that some of you may or may not have seen. So that is really what kind of, at least in terms of real estate, really put me on the map a couple of years ago because I am based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and what happened was I bought a property and I looked at that property and I said, you know what? Y'all got some big yards in Atlanta. Like, it's insane the amount of space you have. And what I saw my neighbors doing was just playing what I like to call lawn wars. Like, whose lawn looks the best? Who can plant the most flowers? Who can make it look and trim their yards the best? When really I looked at my yard and I said, I can literally fit another house, if not two, back here. So that, back in 2020, this was in the middle of the thick of the pandemic, after I purchased that house and I looked at that backyard and I said, you know what, I think that's gonna be a really, really good idea. I decided to do a backyard tiny home, formerly known as an accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, in my backyard. And at that point, when I did that, many other homeowners, I put a docuseries out online, and many other homeowners kind of caught wind of that, and they said, you know what, this is also a really good idea, because y'all know we kind of in the middle of a housing crisis, right? Right? Like, the real estate market is hot, don't get me wrong, and we're gonna talk about all of that. But there are people that are struggling to find housing, a basic need that connects them to everything else in terms of transportation. We're talking about education, employment, opportunity, all of that today, right? Housing is a basic foundation of all of that. So when we did that, what I like to do, or more of my position, is advocating for better housing for others, more availability in terms of the amount of units that we're able to have that fit the needs of our current demographics and not the demographics of people from 70 and 80 years ago. Affordability of units as well, and then attainability of home ownership. So my hope is that today, through actually hearing the stories of our panelists, and even my story as well, and maybe even some of y'all's, we can get more and strive toward that home ownership piece, and then even furthermore, get into actual real estate investing as well. So y'all ready? Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. We got some real people on this panel. They didn't flew out, they took their time. Come on, y'all, we ain't here for nothing, thank you. So what I would love to do and start out with, and we can just go down the line for this first question, I would love for you all to just go through and introduce yourself, just a quick intro of how are you connected to this topic of housing and real estate and wealth, and just where you hailing from, how did you get started? We can start with you, Jason.
All right, what's going on, y'all good? Yeah. All right, peep game, I'm Jay White, first name, last name, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I know that's real close to here, an hour and 13 minutes, so you know what I mean? We good. So I do federal government contracting by way of the middleman strategy. So we don't touch the work, we don't see the work, we don't see the workers doing the work. I started at about 2008. My company now has over 250 federal government contracts for work that we don't physically do. Currently, right now, we have 42 contracts. Yes, ma'am.
Amazing.
My name is Kia J. Brooks. I'm the mom and manager of one of the top NIL athletes. NIL is a new space, but I've been managing my daughter for the last 11 years successfully. NIL just kind of fell in our laps, and we running it up.
Yes.
And when I say wealth, I'm not in the housing industry as of yet, but we're working on that. But
Intangible wealth.
right, so but we're looking into doing things of that nature. But right now, just pretty much teaching others. Each one teach one. You know what I'm saying? Like all these agents come to me, no. This is my child. I can do this myself. If I've been managing my child for this long, and I've been negotiating these deals, I can negotiate the rest of them. So, you know, as an agent, you have several things that you can't do. As a manager, you can do everything. Mm-hmm. So just do your research, you know what I'm saying? Get out here and make people understand, like, you know, how easy it is if we go and do the research and actually find out, you know, what can be done and what can't be done. You don't need nobody else to do the work for you for your child. You can do it for yourself. So now I work for my daughter, and I'm free.
Yes. And Ms. Kia, yes, please clap it up. Ms. Kia, can you, for those of us that may not know, what does NIL stand for?
Yes, so NIL is name, image, and likeness. So once you build a brand, you're now able to capitalize off your name. I don't know if you knew in the past, but a lot of colleges have been selling jerseys, making millions of dollars off these kids, but now we're able to bring in our own income from our names. So my daughter is a multimillionaire right now her first year. She's a freshman.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. And she's a champion, an LSU champion, first year. So we going for that second round.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Thank you, Kia. Sabrina, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so can you all hear me? Yes. Okay, cool. So my name is Sabrina Thompson. I'm the CEO of Girl in Space Club, but I also work at NASA as an aerospace engineer where I design orbits. So if you've seen the movie Hidden Figures and the character Taraji Henson played, Katherine Johnson, I do that for a living at NASA. But that's just a part of my story. So through my company, Girl in Space Club, I have a program where we literally teach youth from elementary age how to think about STEM using art, fashion, and design. So we did that with the kids earlier, with the youth earlier today. But again, like the concept around the business is if the kids don't see it, how do we expect them to achieve it? So I literally didn't know my job existed until I started working there. And I had no one to relate to it until that movie came out. So that's a problem. And so my company exists to be able to bridge that gap so that youth can see themselves in spaces that we are typically not, you know, and that's my spill. No housing, I'm sorry.
No worries, yes. Yeah, and that's even better, yes. Okay, Nicole.
Hi. Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Nicole Purvey. I am a real estate investor, and I also run a real estate club called the Better Than Success Real Estate League. It's a pretty large real estate club. How do I plug into Harrisburg Housing Authority?
How do you plug into housing and wealth and real
That is
estate?
my life. I actually own real estate myself in Philadelphia. My entire portfolio is in Philadelphia, but I live in LA. Through my real estate club, we have actually birthed a lot of real estate investors here in Harrisburg and York as well. So my whole organization is all about bridging the information gap between regular, everyday citizens, small investors, and large investors and policymakers. Typically, a lot of times, there's this big word that we're all afraid of called gentrification, right? Either you feel one extreme way about it or you feel the other extreme way about it. But the reality is, gentrification only happens because there's an information gap. When neighborhoods are gentrified, did you guys know that it's usually planned 10, 20 years out? Did you guys know that the planners usually have meetings, but guess who doesn't get invited to those meetings? Auntie, grandma. They post the flyers in the other neighborhood that the meeting is not about. So everything I do is all about bridging the information gap, because if Auntie knows that 10 years coming down the pipeline that some big development is happening, maybe she can do some things to make sure she has the money for the property tax increases that happens when her properties get reassessed. Also too, right, if Auntie knows that these things are happening, maybe she can educate herself and say, hey, you know what, I want to buy a couple houses on the block, if she knows she has time. So it's really all about bridging the information gap so that the information is available so that we may take advantage of what's happening in our own neighborhoods. And that is my story.
I'll try to make it quick. How are y'all doing, by the way? It's a good-looking group. So, you know, it's real simple for me. I started my business because, quite frankly, I was afraid, right? I grew up in a place where, you know, I lived in a mobile home and didn't have much money, right? Who can relate to that? I'm sure some of us can. And so when you finally make it, right, you buy your cars, you buy your house, you do all these things, you buy fancy purses, and so that's what I was doing for a while. And then realized that, you know, after getting my titles and degrees, that the reality is it doesn't mean a whole lot, right? And I was looking at a situation where at 65, I was going to have no retirement, right? Because we earn and we spend and we earn and we spend, and a lot of that is cultural, right? Because we're so happy to get out the projects, we're so happy to get out the mobile home, we're running away from that. We want to look like something that, quite frankly, we really just don't have. And so when I looked up, I said, I've got to change this trajectory, because the reality is the 401k plans, y'all, those aren't going to get you there. You can't save your way to retirement. You can use it as a tool, particularly if your company matches, but you can't save your way to retirement. And who wants to work till they're 75 or 80? And who wants to see, as my fellow colleague here in the space, see folks change our communities around when we could do it? So all of these things is how Pay United came about. And we believe that we could create a better life for ourselves and help you create a better life for you by using what we call apartment hacking, which is you use a small multifamily footprint to start your journey on building generational wealth and freeing yourself from what we call the cycle. And so that's how my company started. I own a small fourplex in Richmond, Virginia. I bought it with, I think, call it 403B loan. It's been a while now. Stored enough money to do it, put down 3.5%, bought it at $250, put $150 in it. That was in 2018. Moved into the unit, sold my McMansion in Hanover that I couldn't afford anyway, and moved into the fourplex. Changed my life. Started reading, started listening to the podcasts, started understanding how to use tax laws as an incentive to create wealth, because that's what they don't teach us, how to do that. And today, I still live in that same fourplex. But now that fourplex, it went from bringing me $35,000 a year in gross income to now $53,000 a year in gross income, with a net of about 43. And I have no personal housing expenses. It's life-changing, y'all. And so what we aim to do is show you how to do the very same thing. Because you can, it's doable. And you walk into that goal based upon what you think you need when you decide you want to transition into what we call retirement. You don't need to own 20 houses. You don't need to own big multifamily developments. You don't need to do that. So we kind of break it down in a real practical way of how each of you can do the same and how we can connect you to resources along the way. And so I'm here today with fellow colleagues to talk a little bit more about that. And then afterwards, I'd love to chat with you to discuss furthermore.
To be broke is economic. To be poor is a disabling frame of mind and a depressed condition of your spirit. And each of you in this room should vow to never be poor again. And I share that because I'm from the inner cities of Philadelphia, and I grew up broke. Not poor, but broke, economically. And I navigated through all of the complexities that come with growing up in the inner city, being as though you model what you see. So for me, getting into the financial services space, which I've been fortunate to work in for the past 10 years, my journey started in high school during career day. I saw a black man in a suit driving Mercedes come into career day, and I had never seen that before, coming from the inner city. And so I asked the gentleman what he did, and he told me financial services, and I knew that wasn't enough information. And so I later found out that he was a financial advisor, and he talked to me about what he helped people do. And I was like, I still don't know what that is being 17 years old, but I'm gonna do just that, right? Because that was the first example of someone being not an athlete or an entertainer that made it up out of their situation. So fast forwarding throughout, getting I remember walking into a financial institution, and I asked a banker at the time, I said, I just came from career day. I'm looking to get a job. What does it take to work here? And he said, you know what? We actually have an Excel program for advisors that we're starting up, and we're giving away money for tuition reimbursement. You can't tell me that wasn't divine intervention for me to be there, being placed. And I'm like, wait, what? Again, all of this language was just foreign to me, but I knew that I needed to go online and apply that night, and I did, and I got hired, and I began to get access to information and apply it to what I was also learning in school, because I did attend Penn State University. And from that, it was over. You couldn't take me off the high horse that I was riding on. And all of this information to this day has led to me being able to own real estate myself, but also being an advisor and planner for Black and brown folks. But then moreover, changing what that looks like for my family, right? So my grandfather passed away 2016, and then he was able to leave me property in California. My father, my aunt, and my grandmother weren't homeowners. And I learned about this thing early on in my career about being an authorized user, and I had added them all as authorized users and enabled and empowered them to be able to purchase their first property, right? My grandma was 55 when she first purchased her property.
Yes.
When I told her that she had this opportunity to do that, she almost, jumped out of her own skin, because she had no idea that she had the capability to do this, right? Same for my father being a veteran, and my aunt working her whole life and just renting and never being able to have power in the ownership space. So for me, I've been able to culminate all of my experiences, and give back to underserved communities by connecting economic resources and education. And my name is Nasir Smith, by the way. Thank you.
Yes. So thank y'all so much for introducing yourselves, telling a little bit about your story and how you were able to get started in the space. Nasir, I actually want to start with you since you already have a mic, and it kind of pertains to this question, because what I want to call out right now, specifically with what OJ did, with what Elise did, with all of us here, a theme throughout this, because I know that we've come here for, we want the tips, we want the tricks, we want the hacks on, okay, let's get rich. But a huge piece of what's been talked about thus far in the 20 to 30 minutes that we've already been here is mindset. And we can give you all of the tips, we can give you all of the tools, we can give you all of the hacks, everything. But if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't know how to place yourself in the right mindset in order to receive that, and then even furthermore to navigate life's trials and turmoils and battles and all of that, it will mean absolutely nothing. So with all of that being said, I want to make sure that throughout this conversation, we talk a little bit about what I mentioned earlier with Kia in terms of that intangible wealth. And I think that intangible wealth is really having a clear mind and being in your right mind. So with that being said, Nasir, and I would actually, with anyone who else wants to answer after that, what does wealth mean to you? Because sometimes we tend to mistake it as only that monetary piece. But what is your comprehensive definition of wealth, or what does wealth look like within your industry?
So for me, beyond the economic perspective of what wealth to me is everything that I just talked about, right? Empowering my family to make better financial decisions and to put them in position to, quite frankly, change the trajectory of their life, right? Like I mentioned, with my father, my grandmother, my aunt, but then also being able to have ownership in something, right? We got to own something, whether it's land, a business, our time. We got to own something. And so for me, wealth is stems from being able to give back to my family, and then having control of my time to do exactly whatever it is that I desire.
That time piece is crucial. Does anyone else want to add anything in terms of their definition of wealth or what it means within their industry?
I'll be glad to answer. So I think for me, it's just, I can boil it down to one statement. it's freedom of choice, right? The choice whether I want to take the job that makes $50,000 because I love the work, right? Versus taking the $100,000 job that I'm going to hate. It's being able to shop at, well, in Richmond, this is a popular store. Short Pump, yeah, Short Pump. Being able to shop at the mall at Short Pump, right? Because I choose to, versus going to, back in the day, Kmart. Being able to shop at Whole Foods because I want to, right? Versus going to Food Lion. Being able to say, I can put my mom in the best nursing home, or I can put her in another one, right? But I just have options in every arena of life. And I can creating those options for others. So it boils down to that freedom of choice.
Options, choice, freedom. I love it.
So for me, wealth means for me able to have my kids in the same room with me as I speak, right? So a lot of us talk about generational wealth, but we're not bringing the generation around so they can hear how the wealth is being made. So I've done a phenomenal job. I'm gonna pat my own self on the back. Everywhere I speak, I pull my youngest with me. Arizona, California, Texas, New York several times, Florida, to the point where my daughter's like, yo, Dad, I'm not coming. I'm done. I actually want to go to school today, right? I'm like, all right, cool. Me and my man's son, it's just me and you now, and he cool with it. But that's part of wealth to me. And also, too, the second thing is being able to have my trials and tribulations and the mountains or molehills that I made mountains, for me to give those to y'all so y'all can go ahead on condense your time frames to get to your next level, whatever that might be, right? That means wealth to me, because if I'm talking on anybody's platform, or anybody's stage, or my own platform, or even in my own neighborhood, or with my families, like Nasir said, right? And my family or anybody I'm speaking to can grasp onto the information that I'm saying and then go to their next level, that's wealth, because now guess what's happening? It's carrying on. And it's not staying with me. Y'all know what the graveyard is. Y'all know what they're saying about the graveyard. So all the dreams are there that never made it. That never made it because they're there in the graveyard. We're not supposed to do that. When you get to certain levels, it should be your objective and duty, or equate that to wealth, to say, I need to pass this on because look what I did for myself and my family. So now let me pass this on, whoever's willing to speak. So that's how I equate wealth through and through.
I love it.
So for me, it's freedom. I worked a 9-to-5 for 13 years. I was in dentistry. And one day, my doctor said, Nicole, set up the rooms for tomorrow, which would have made me have to stay there an hour extra, and my kid had a game. He said, I'm about to go ahead to Tommy game. So that day, I said to myself, he could go to Tommy game, but I gotta leave my baby and not be to my child game. So it made me feel like I gotta change this. I need to be accessible for my kids. They need to see me at their games. And for us, you know, we always at work. We trying to make ends meet. We working 2 jobs. We're not knowing what's going on with our children. They depressed. They going through all kind of things at school. They being bullied, and we getting home so late, so we're not even able to know what's going on. And then when we find out, it's too late. So I had to make the sacrifice to step out on faith and say, I got to do this for me and mine. I got to change the way my grandmother and them did, and change the way of thinking, and create a way to make it for my kids. Like not being able to have to worry about food stamps, or worry about Section 8, or worrying about, you know, how can I do this? I got some talented kids in this house. And ain't nobody gonna tell me my kid's talented. And if I don't see it, and I'm with my kids more than anybody, I can't depend on the teacher to say, oh, your kid is one of this. I can't depend on the coach to say, oh, she better than anybody else. I need to see that. I birthed this child, so why can't I see that? So then when my daughter said she wanted to be a rapper, I said, come on, let's rap. I said, get that encyclopedia. And I was realizing, I was like, this girl really riding a beat. If she knew what she was saying or knew more words, she gonna be one of the best ones. So then when she did get older and she started going through situations and started reading more and getting up in there, I was like, let's do this different, Flage. Let's not curse. Let's not show our body. Let's tell a story. They gonna need you longer than they gonna need the rest of them. And now my daughter in rooms that your favorite rapper can't even sit at. Little baby, none of them can sit at that table because they ain't clean enough. And nobody's attaching their brand to that. So now me and my baby in two different worlds. She on the music side and she on the sports side. At the top, at the highest levels. Nobody's done that before. So you sit at the table and you be creative with your family. How can we do this different? You ask your kids questions. You let them talk. They have ideas too. Then you bring them to the forefront and you make it work and you believe that it'll work. And that was my mindset all along. I knew that it would work. I knew that they needed her. They needed something positive for their kids. So when she sell tickets, now she gonna sell a family of tickets. Not just teenagers. My grandma listened to Flage music. She in the garden like, ain't no cursing in there. Ooh, I'm good. And it's nice music that's still attractive to others that make them want to listen. She's still in arenas with the regular rapper, but then she sell a different group of tickets. Mm-hmm. Oh, you could go because Flage on the ticket. And that's how I sell her, even with the brands now. She's a unicorn. If you could find somebody that's like Flage, we'll do the deal for free. You can't find nobody. So all I came to say at this point in my life is, this is wealth for me. I'm a single mother. My father was murdered while I was pregnant. And now she's walking in those same shoes, but in a different light to where people respect it. That's wealth for me.
Check her out tomorrow. Yes. So one of the themes that I'm hearing is wealth truly being, in addition to, the monetary piece, right? Something tangible that you own to pass down. It's also being able to be present, right? Having that time, having that freedom. And an additional piece that I want to call out here is that I know many times you all, like right now, you all are in the audience seats. And my hope is that, some of you might have the desire to be on the other end of that, right? And in a couple years, you're spitting the game on the other side. But the big piece of that is really just understanding that even though we have so much to offer and so many gems that we are about to drop as well, nobody can design your life for you. And it's easy in this day and age that when we're seeing social media, we're seeing how other people are living, the things that they got, how they on vacation and they got their laptop at a beach already, like how they doing that? That's what we be wondering, right? But understand that in order for you to really live a life that's fulfilling for you, I think something that Oche mentioned that was really, really good was the fact that you can have everything that you want, but you don't have anything that you need. You don't have the things that you really, really need. So the piece that I want to say before we dive into some industry-specific questions is, as we are talking, and if you have never heard of it, and if I see some of y'all got like something to write with and all of that, write down the term or the phrase lifestyle design. And go into a deep dive of that. Do a Google search, start reading some articles, read some books, lifestyle design. That is going to be far more impactful than you setting your SMART goals, than you saying, okay, this is what I want to do in 1, 3, 5 years. All of those things are good, but it's a matter of lifestyle design really gets at who do you want to be. We can care less about what you want to do, But who do you want to be? Because in order for you to do all of those things, you have to be a certain person. So look up lifestyle design. If you do not know about it, look it up and start kind of like diving into that and figuring out how you can design your own life. Now, let's get back to this panel. So I would like to dive in and ask Jason. So Jason, for you, right? Because I know Sabrina as well. Like, Sabrina, you work for the government with NASA, correct? And Jason, you are working with the government. Yeah. What is that like? Like, what's the difference? What's the benefit?
I mean, it's a big difference, right?
Let's get into that with government contracting. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so there's different levels, right? So it's federal, state, and then there's local. So I'm all at the federal level. So I've been getting federal government contracts from the jump. A lot of people, when they think about federal government contracts, their mindset is, what can I do? I have a business, I can get a federal government contract for it. All right, cool, but when I started, I did 10 years in the Coast Guard, didn't know how to swim, but then I did 2 years of those 10 years in the brig. Anybody know what the brig is? All right, that's military jail. So I went there because I was still a knucklehead, but when I came home, to your point, I had to figure out who I wanted to be. And I was like, all right, I don't want to be this guy anymore. Let me be this newer version of myself. So I didn't have a network. I didn't have money. I had bad credit. I think my credit score was like a 3-something.
Damn.
Yeah, it was terrible. That is terrible.
I play. I'm sorry.
Nah, it was terrible. So, but I'm just giving y'all that backstory to know that I didn't have a formulated company that could do certain things that I knew the government was looking for. So I just reverse engineered it. I said, all right, cool. If the government is asking for all these things, there are companies out there that already have these things that the government is asking for. Why can't I just partner up with these companies and then we together fulfill whatever this federal government contract is? Y'all know it's a federal facility in all 50 states, right? So that means I never cared about my backyard. My first contract that I ever won was for grease traps in Florida. I'd never seen this grease trap. I still never seen this grease trap. How many people know what a grease trap is? All right, cool. That's my first federal government contract that I've ever won. So once I realized, okay, the federal government really just want to know, can you do the work and how much you charging me? And if I can give them a comparable proposal, I can be awarded this contract and the company in Florida can do the physical work. So when we talk about federal government contracting, we have to realize the federal government has a big need and a big ask for products and services. But you don't have to have that product and service because there's somebody's passion that has that product and service, and you get with them and y'all together partner up on that federal government contract. People ask me all the time, what type of contracts you get? Everything, ERR, everything. Just figure it out. We do wig making, we do janitorial, we do digital content, we do construction, we do obviously grease traps, armed, unarmed, security. Whatever it is, we do it all because there's a federal need for everything. And if there's a need for it, then guess what? There's a company out there. So obviously, that's one of the biggest differences on contracting versus employee, because I'm not bound to anything, but I want to get this contract. You saying yes or no? Okay, cool, and then I move on. So like I told y'all earlier, we have 42 of those currently being active, and that's what we teach in the company that I created called the Federal Code. But then there still are some nuances that we have to follow because it is what? The federal government, right? So don't misunderstand that. I am a guy that hates to read. I don't have patience. I barely graduated from high school. I wish I could have went to university, but maybe I wouldn't have got in, but we'll talk about that later on. But but there are things that we are regulated to do, and it's easier than you think. But that's my side on the contracting side. You can talk about that.
And exactly, and that's again entrepreneurship, employment, education. That's more of the entrepreneurship piece. Now let's hear more like the benefits of the employment, being employed by the federal government.
So being employed by the federal government, I'll tell you, I started working at NASA in 2010, and I've been working there ever since. So there are pros and cons, of course, to working for the government, but literally once you're in, you gotta do something crazy for them to kick you out. Like literally. I've been through 2 furloughs already. We got back pay, thank God, both times, you know. The relationship that we have with contractors, so we have some that are on site, so they literally sit in the desk next to us. You know, we have contractors that work off site, and sometimes, like for instance, right now, I manage a project where like the contractor does a lot of the work, and I manage them, like I oversee it, right? But when 5 o'clock comes, I'm going home. Those contractors got to make sure that whatever they said they were going to do, that it has to get done. And if they need to stay there later to get it done, right? Or whatever it is, there was a contract that needs to be fulfilled. So you got to get that work done. As a government, like, so I can't speak for all of the government. I can only speak for NASA. Mm-hmm. And I can only speak for NASA Goddard in Greenbelt, Maryland. Okay? Literally. When it's time to go home, I go home. That work-life balance, I have it through the job, right? So I don't, and then when the contract is up, as a contractor, you got to look for the next thing, right? Like literally, I just go to my supervisor, okay, I'm done with this thing. What's next? Well, we'll figure out something for you. Okay, well, when y'all figure it out, but I'm still getting paid that whole time.
Stability.
Okay, so it's stability, right? And then it's connections, right? So literally, as far as the government goes, you know, you make a lot of connections, and, you know, you talked about the retirement. We get the, what do you get? We get it, I think it's like 5%. They match us, right? But I maxed that thing out, right? But still, you know, like you said, like, I don't know if I could last that long. We gonna try, and do some other things on the side. But literally, you know, I work for the government full time, and I also run a business. So that kind of gives you an idea, you know, of, you know, again, it's stability. It's really stability, right? But then you got to think about it. How stable is it? Like we had 2 furloughs, right? So it
Furlough, for those that don't know?
Huh?
Furlough, for those that don't know? Furlough? What does furlough mean for those that don't know?
Oh, so how do you define a furlough? So literally, we didn't get paid. The government, yeah, they temporarily laid us off. Like we have to wait for Congress to make a decision about our budget. Otherwise, we got to wait around before we get paid. Yep.
So, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to ask a question. I just want to point something out, right? This word stability is made up. How many of you have a job, but you want to be an entrepreneur and you're scared because of the stability of your job? Raise your hand. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a story. Right now, I have most of my staff is overseas. I have a couple of contractors that are here in the States. But at one point, I had a full staff, right? Employees, American people that showed up to my office, all that. And so I thought that it was funny that any of them could go and take their checks and go and get an FHA mortgage because of stability of their job, but I couldn't because I owned the business. Who's more stable? Me, that owns the business, or the employee? And so you would think that the United States government is the most stable of them all. But this amazing woman just sat here and said that she got laid off twice. I've never laid off anybody ever. Just want you to know, I've been an employer for 13 years. I've never laid anybody off ever. Now, am I saying that the United States government is unstable? Maybe, but that's not the whole point, right?
Yes.
No, they're not. But what I'm saying is stability is something you're making up in your mind. Hey, I don't want to leave my job because it's stable. I don't want to do this thing because it's not going to be as stable. This is something nothing is stable. The only thing stable is change.
That's a fact.
Thank you. So just Just do it. No. You might have to plan some things out, but pull the trigger. Tell your boss to kick rocks. No, I'm kidding. You can't go nowhere.
Actually, I was just curious, the federal contracts, is your business an AA certified business? And if so,
Good question.
what was the process?
Good question. Good question. So, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so check this out. Great question. I'm gonna just say this right here. The federal government is the largest purchaser in the world. On the contracting side, when she was furloughed, no disrespect to the furlough and employees, all of my contracts 10x. Because when those buildings are empty, guess what still needs to happen to those buildings? Inside and outside. So it's a different level when we talk about contracting and what's needed and versus the employees in the building. So my company has been 8A certified, and we're saying the number 8 and the letter A, 8A certification, which actually is the certification that the federal government deems for the minorities. So that's a 9-year program that your company is built to be a big box. The federal government will help your company be a bigger company than a small business, where it opens up the $25 million, the $50 million, the $100 million contracts. Now, I never got the 8A certification until the federal government told me my company was ready for the 8A certification. So that's a difference. A lot of people hurry up and just say, I want to be minority owned, so let me get the 8A certification. It's best to wait until the federal government tells you that they've been looking at your past performance, and now your company, through the networking, is ready for a contract that the 8A program can provide you. So I never got it until they told me my company was ready for it. Good question. And then the clock starts. 9-year run, and then after 9 years, you get the grandfather that to another company. So I have 7 companies registered in SAM.gov, so we just keep grandfathering on down. Yes, sir.
Run the play. Run the play. Yes, come on now.
So if I could just add one thing, and I promise this is going to be quick.
No, go ahead.
I agree with both my fellow panelists, but I'll say there is a balance, y'all, right? For those of us who need to work, right? Because stability is fictitious, I agree, but you all have got families, right? You've got things you've got to do. Look at your jobs as the thing that funds your dream, right? So work to keep your expenses low, because it's really not always how much you make, right? Mm-hmm. It's how much you spend, right? So keep your expenses low, create that room to store income so that you make that money work for you, right? You're your most important bill, and you do that with some consistency, automate that storing of income. Then you can go out there and feel more confident in going out there, and then people say on your own, but you don't do anything on your own. It's always a team. But you feel more confident building your empire and going out there and being the employer that hires 13, 14, 15 folks. Kind of like, the young lady's doing here, right? She has a business, she's building her business. And then eventually, she'll become like my friend here, right? But do that, store your income and let your income fund your dream.
Thank you for adding that, because I think sometimes as well we tend to think that it's one or the other. It's like, okay, I'm an employee, or I'm an employer, or I'm in entrepreneurship, or I'm just an employee and I just got a job. It's not one or the other. You can absolutely do both, and you can transition and flow back and forth between them if you want to as well.
Lifestyle design.
Exactly. Like, how do you want to live your life? And I think that's the important thing, because our 3 pillars for this entire summit at this point is, again, employment, entrepreneurship, and education. So you're not choosing between, okay, which one do I do? Do I go to school? Do I just start a business? Or do I go ahead and I go get a job? do them all. It's not one or the other. And I would be the first to say that I think education, not even in a formal sense, but even in an informal sense, it's like education is always required regardless of any of these industries that these panelists are sitting on. Whether that was they paid some type of mentor, whether that they actually went to school, they did a workshop or whatever. I think there was a question right here.
Yeah, I have a question for you seven. So, my question, just being a young entrepreneur myself, can you be broke and wealthy at the same time?
Yeah. I've been like that a bunch of times in my life. I got assets, but be cash poured in a mug. For sure, for sure. Now, see, I'm glad you asked that question because it really goes against everything you just said. So, right, you say store up your cash. I am not a cash storer, right? Like, now people are coming out saying stuff like, you can't save your way to wealth. I've been doing that. I've been like overspending on houses before it was cool. Like, blowing all my money on stock before it was cool. And so, yes, it does sometimes put you in a situation where it's like, oh, wow, I have assets, but I don't have any cash. Like, what am I doing? Because I like to spend. And so, like, because I know I'm a spender, I channeled that habit to not spend it on liabilities and said, you know what, let me spend it on assets. So you can be in a position where you have more assets, you have possibly a high net worth, but you're like, well, I don't have a whole lot of cash coming in. And so I've learned throughout this entrepreneurship journey that you do have to have either multiple businesses or a business that has multiple types of cash flow. So what do I mean by that? You always need a business that is bringing in that's cash intensive, right? That keeps you not being poor, right? Gives you cash. But then you also want to have a business, you definitely need a business that adds to your net worth because not all businesses are capable of being sold, so they have no value. I'll give you an example, a hairdresser. A hairdresser could be some of these hairdressers, especially with these wigs, what do they make it? $5,000 wig in a day, two wigs in a day, right?
They running it up.
They run it up, okay? So, but guess what? If I'm a hairdresser and I'm making $5,000 a day, that's a lot of money. Making $5,000 a day, I have no net worth. You know why? How can I sell my hairdressing business? I can't sell my skill to her. If no one's willing to buy it, then it has no value.
So initially what I'm saying is, can someone that's broke be of high value?
That's what I'm saying. Broke technically means you don't have no cash, right?
Well, you explained the situation with the hairdresser. I mean, she has cash.
That's the opposite. That's the opposite. I'm saying they're two mutually exclusive things. You can have a high net worth, but not have a lot of cash. You can have a lot of cash and a low net worth. Your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. So if you got a lot of cash coming in and you're spending it, you don't have no assets, or hopefully you don't have no liabilities, and your net worth is zero. So understanding the difference between having the cash and having net worth is key to really being successful.
And I think as well, I think it also speaks to the point because each person is going to answer it within their own lens of what wealthy is. And I think that then goes back to what we were talking about in terms of how do you define wealth, which is why I wanted to make sure that all of us went ahead and defined wealth as well.
We didn't answer that.
Yeah. We didn't answer. Right. So, I don't know, I kind of feel like this is like another session in of itself to understand some of these things. So I think, I agree. I think that as far as the answer to your question, can you be broke? Can you repeat that again? Can you repeat that question again?
Initially, my question was basically saying, can you be broke and wealthy? Can you be broke but high value?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You always have your value. I'm sorry.
So I agree. I agree with my colleague here that you can be, and I don't like to use that term, but I mean, yeah. We got to find
Is that
another
a cash flow problem?
We have to
Temporary cash flow
right?
problem.
Yeah, exactly. So we got to find another word, but we're gonna work on that, right? We're gonna change our vocabulary.
Yeah, because the power of
but
the tongue is real.
It is. It is. But I'll say that, and I have a few businesses too, and so I think I agree with that. That you can have a high net worth, and your cash flow can look low. And I'll give you a hard example that may help. Like my friend here, I went to the bank. All I wanted to do is refinance my fourplex. That's all. But at the time, I was an employee of my own business. So I was an S corp, right? Employee of my own business. I didn't have a W-2. I just picked up a W-2 recently. And my taxes were so complex to them that they told me I didn't qualify, I don't have enough money. Because when you look at my adjusted gross, it showed, I think at the time, $34,000. That's all I made all year. But that's not the reality, right? And so unfortunately there's, your big box banks and things aren't really sort of designed to support the investor or the entrepreneur. And so I didn't qualify to even refinance my mortgage with a big box bank. So I went to an investor-friendly provider. And so I say all that to say, my taxes showed I made $34,000 a year, right? But the reality is I made more like $200,000 a year. But I had so many deductions, so many that brought it down, right? Cost X studies, all kinds of things that brought that number all the way down. But then when you look at my balance sheet, you'll see that my asset is worth $1 million, right? And so I'm broke on paper at the bottom line, right? I'm broke as far as state's account is concerned. Cash flow looks low, but my net worth, my building is worth $1 million, right? And so that's the high net worth that I have. And so if you were to liquidate the building for cash, and so say I liquidated the building, let's say tomorrow, I could liquidate the building, I can take home $600,000 of cash, but then I have cash sitting in the bank. So then I'm cash heavy. That's what you really don't want to do. You always want your money working for you. So you always want to have enough money to keep your business going, to pay your employees, to pay your expenses. But you always want to kind of keep it at a place where you got enough to operate, but not too much that you're not making it work for you, if that makes sense, right?
Yes.
So something I think could be another session for real. But does that help kind of?
It absolutely can be another session as well, because tax strategy in and of itself is something that we don't like. Everybody tells you to go out there and go get the LLC.
And that's not.
I owe the IRS right now. No. But no, seriously, tax strategy can totally be a thing, right? Because as you mentioned, Madeline, it is totally possible to, on paper, you don't really have too much. And honestly, that is the way of the wealthy. It's on paper, you do not want to have too much. We tend to think, right? Like, let's think about, for instance, real quick, a gym, right? The holidays. Around the holidays, right? Like, everything happens back to back. It's like Halloween, and then it's Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas, and it's all of this stuff. And people donating turkeys, and they're buying Christmas trees, and all of these businesses are doing that. And oh my goodness, we're like, they're doing so much good, which they are. What are they doing on the back end? Because what's about to happen? The year's about to end. They are doing write-offs. All of them 2,000 turkeys they bought, write-off. Yeah. Christmas trees, we gifting all of the mothers with family, write-off. To make it to where they do not have any money on paper so that money is not taxed. That is what is happening. So in a tangible way, that is the answer to your question, that yes, you can absolutely be wealthy, and then on paper you can be broke. And I do want to answer your question in an intangible way as well, in terms of, can you be a high value person, like you mentioned, but your cash flow might be a little low right now. And that is absolutely, because the one thing that if you walk away with nothing else from today, I would love for you to simply walk away with the fact that you are already high value. You already have the knowledge to be a millionaire inside of you right now. You are already worthy of everything that you desire. It's there already. You don't need the zeros attached to it right now to say the zeros are coming, right? Like you've heard of the times where people would say, I wrote a check to myself 20 years ago and I'm just now able to cash that check because they knew their value. So I agree in terms of the terms. We don't necessarily like broke, low cash, whatever it is, but you can have that low cash and you absolutely have high value. It's just a matter of getting in your right mind so that you can tap into that value and cash that check. Make sense?
Confidence is the zeros, baby. Your confidence is the zeros behind that.
I would.
If you got the confidence, you would definitely get what you want. And you got to be able to, if you don't have the cash, you got to be the barter. What can you offer to somebody else and they can give it to you for free? And what can you do for them for free to build your business?
Something else I'll add. As you all ascend in your respective, if you're a business owner, as you ascend, this is not initially needed or required, but at a certain point, outside of the employees that you have hired, you want to build an A team around you, right? The A team being your advisor, financial advisor, an accountant or CPA, and an attorney, right? These are three acronyms, or three professionals, that are going to work in conjunction to help you build out exactly the lifestyle or the trajectory of where you're looking to take your business. And that tax planning strategy is very important because if you want to be bankable, right, or you want to qualify for lending, there needs to be cash flow, right? I've done a lot of rigorous training and underwriting throughout different programs working in financial services, and a lot of businesses we write off a lot of items, and we know why we're doing that, right? We're mitigating our tax liability, but when you take those tax documents to that particular relationship manager or that underwriter, they're going to want to see how does the income and cash flow that your business has, how does that support the debt that you're looking to acquire? So there is some validity in showing some sort of revenue that's going to be generated, but that's where the strategy with your advisor or an accountant to help you prepare and plan for that. So be mindful of, again, we're in this TikTok, social media era where everyone's giving professional advice on particular topics that's not their lane. If you follow me, I tend to stay in my lane as a financial advisor and don't go outside of that because I know where I'm great at and I know where I need to defer. And so what I will, again, to just sum up everything that I'm saying is do your due diligence. But at some point, those three people are so critical to everything that you do as a business owner.
The board of advisors for your life. Yes. Absolutely, 100%. I have one last question before we actually open it up. Oh, and we have a question in the back, too.
So each of you, I think, have made some critical decisions that may be outside of your training. It may be a visceral decision or a heart decision that you had to make that seems like it might have made a lot of difference. With you, Kia, specifically, the lane that you chose for Flage to move in, the lane of being positive and the lane of not overexposing herself, is a decision that you make that maybe that was a heart decision or a character. It speaks a lot to your character. With you, Jay White, looking specifically to do federal contracts instead of local contracts, which has made a big difference in the trajectory of your business. With you, Ms. Purvey, you have made the decision to work at your business in a way that there is balance and in a way that you're not wearing yourself out. And you're trying to keep a holistic look at how you're pursuing life. With you, Sabrina, looking at, how do I still express more of myself beyond my intellect and my penchant for science? How do I bring in arts in more of me and what I present and what I do? With you, Nasir, looking at, okay, I do financial advising, but what's a group of people who could be great if they had the right advice? And looking at how you present that to people with the arts background and focus. These are kind of decisions that are made, and even with you, Ms. Pay, making the decision of, you know what, there's a lot of different directions that I could go in to build wealth. I'm going to use this house hacking as a way to change my own financial situation, and then making the decision, I want to invest myself, my time, and my efforts in helping other people make that same transition. These are things that they're not going to teach you in a university. They're not going to teach you in a program. It's literally a reflection of your internal self. Can you guys speak to any of those kind of decisions and where you felt like it has gotten you?
Can I go first? Because actually, I had a lot to say about that, but I'm going to keep it short. But it also answered the wealth question that Precious asked earlier, and I didn't get a chance to answer. So to answer your question, I have two answers to basically how did I design my life based on my heart, right? That's essentially things that I didn't learn in a textbook. The first thing is I think everybody needs to start with a personal mission statement or really understanding what your God-given purpose is. If you do not start there, then you will find yourself with transitory success, having a little bit of success here, none here, just constantly struggling. If you focus on your purpose, now, if you don't know what your purpose is, are you going to be able to discover it tomorrow? Probably not. It's a journey. But once you do figure out what your purpose is, do nothing that is not it. Period. No questions asked, no ifs, ands, or buts, no shiny object syndrome. That's it. The riches lie in your purpose. So Oche said, hey, I got this work-life balance. I don't know how true that is, but my purpose, I already know. God communicated to me that my purpose is to help other people get to that purpose. Really help other people get to their purpose. Real estate is just a vehicle for me. So my main business, like I can do real estate so easily, that's nothing. My main business that I spend most of my time in is running my real estate club. And real estate helps other people to get more passive about their income so that they can focus on their purpose. That is why I pour all my energy into it. If somebody comes to me with a great business idea, if it don't allow me to live in my purpose, I'm not doing it. Real estate, I do deals, one, to pass down to my son, but also two, so that I cannot be out here moving like a fraud, right? Like I can't run a real estate club and don't be doing real estate, right? So that is my advice to anyone looking to use outside of the classroom advice to build their life. Focus on your purpose, period. You have to be so disciplined about not doing anything that's not it, period. The other thing I was going to say was back to the whole what does wealth mean to us thing, right? And it kind of goes into this. For me, wealth is spiritual and emotional health. Now, that sounds like a real woo-woo kind of answer, but I'm going to tie it to actual tangible wealth in a minute. How many of you have like big audacious goals? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you deep down inside know what to do? Like y'all been listening to podcasts, y'all got step by step, y'all know what to do. Why are you not doing it? Scared? What else? Are you sure? Everything. Time management and resources. Okay, so we got fear, time management, and resources. One, time management is just a project management thing, right? Resources thing, right? Like, that's just how resourceful you can be. The reality is all three of those answers are rooted in something spiritual, emotional happening inside of you. So once you can get down to, hey, why am I not doing what I need to do? Why do I know that I need to do this, but every day I do that? Why do I know that I need to not eat sweets, but I eat a cookie at the end of the day? The answer is something emotional deep down inside of you. If you can get to that, then you can do anything you want. That's the scary part, when you realize you can do anything you want. Because now it's like, I can do anything. But you first have to focus on your spiritual and emotional health. That is like above all. Before getting all this information up here, before spending 1,000,000 hours on YouTube, you have to focus on your spiritual and emotional health, because then it'll make, once you get the information, once you get the platform, it'll make it so much easier, because no one can tell you no. All the reasons that black people use to not do what we're supposed to do, a lot of them are institutional, for sure, but some of them are inside. But we weren't taught how to heal them. We weren't taught how to deal with them so that we may go and be the best and highest version of ourselves. So that is my answer. I'm bad at conclusions.
So I would love to open it up for some questions from the audience. If you have industry-specific questions, questions for a specific person, or questions for everybody. I saw you go first.
I want to ask, I was thinking since you spoke to it earlier about generational wealth in your children, because I have 3-year-olds myself, and so I try to tie them into every aspect of things that we're doing, my husband and I. So my question is, what do you do to kind of keep your kids inspired to even like want to do or take part in what you're doing or what you have planned or the vision you see? And then also, is there, do you ever feel like you're pushing your kids too much, or like you said, like sometimes your daughter just doesn't want to go? Do you ever feel like, all right, maybe I'm doing too much? Because I bring my kids like everywhere. I'm like, you know, sometimes I forget to let them be a kid. Because like I was an college athlete, my kids are athletes. So I'm like, all right, we're going hard at athlete, but you know, entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So yeah. What do you do to inspire your kids?
So for me, I actually asked my kids what they wanted to do. I didn't line up what they was gonna do. So that's where a lot of parents fall short at. This is a new generation. You know what I'm saying? We can't live how things were 20, 30 years ago. And I'm just being real. Like, kids have to be happy at the end of the day. You can't be the only one happy. And the thing is, they're more successful at what they love to do. So I asked my kids what they want to do. And I actually give them the resources to be successful in what they want to do. And just so happened, because I'm supporting them, we can sit down and talk about it. And you know, they don't feel pushed because it's what they want to do. But once we start something, we not stopping. We not quitters. You know, like even when Flaude came out the rap game with Jermaine Dupri, she was like, I don't want to rap no more. I want to play basketball. I said, you better go look up what these girls basketball players making. It's not the same as your favorite basketball player, LeBron James. You're a woman. So how can we still make that same, you know, amount of money? And so she looked it up, she did the research, and we gonna do both. You know what I'm saying? Let's be creative. Let's make them smile and think about it. You know what I'm saying? Give them a task and things to go do to figure out how to get it done. So I make games with my kids, and I make them come show me where I was wrong at versus where, you know, you thinking you're wrong. So just reverse psychology. Like, I mean, our parents been doing this on us for a very long time, but at the same time, I know what my kids love, and you know what your kids love. So that's what I've done for my daughter and my other kids. I just push them in what they love, because I know they'll be more successful at what they love to do versus what I'm trying to make them do.
I wish you was my mama, but anyway. So I'm a pusher. I'm a big pusher. I can't I'm first generation multimillionaire in my family, right? So I know what it takes to have the drive, and then I can see somebody that has a drive but don't understand how to turn the engine on to drive, right? And those are my kids. So I'm like, all right, check this out, man. This is what we not doing, and we're going to do it this way. So to your point, I did try to say, all right, you like to be on Instagram? Manage my account. And my line daughter, exactly. Yo, manage my account. I got you. Listen, this is what you're going to do. You're going to manage my account. You're going to post 3 times a day. And at the end of the week, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars. That lasted for probably 2 hours. Right? Probably like 2 hours. I'm like, okay, cool.
Because you didn't put it on paper. Make your kids sign contracts just like any other business. You make it a business, and then they got to fulfill it.
I said I wish you was my mom. I did say I wish you was my mama. I did say that. I wish you was my mama too. So one of the things that I have started to do, though, is to, you said this earlier, have more conversations with my youngest, right? Okay, cool. I'm pushing you, I understand, but let's have a conversation on why you pushing back. And now I can understand how to glide you through the life that you're at currently today. Because she's right, this is a new generation. TikTok will teach your kids versus me, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. If that's the path you want to go down, let's just make sure we can construct a business out of this the way you're doing it and with the mindset that you're at. I am a pusher, but I still bring my kids. They have to see it. That my kids are growing up as visual learners. I want them to see everything that I'm talking about, not come home and then talk about it and then they never see it or they see a recording of it. So I'm still a slight pusher, but to her point, I am having way more conversations while still pushing them at the same time.
I saw the hand in the back go up there, and then we'll come to you.
I just wanted to give a different perspective on children. I have adult kids, and none of us on their father's side, and probably on my father's side, have been entrepreneurs. And I kind of don't give them a choice. Like when it comes to my events, when it comes to things in my business, I put them in action. Like I put my daughter to work. I give each, even down to my 8-year-old grandson, I give a chore, and he loves it. And I believe that part of it should be kind of enforced, but part of it, to what they want, but to also encourage them. You have to push past your comfortability. You have to push past what our families are used to. If there's no entrepreneurs, if there's no leaders, you have to kind of like put that in front of them to let them know it is attainable.
Yeah, thank you. You can go in the front.
So my name is Leanne Shaw. I have a question for Ms. Brooks. I love your daughter. I watched the rap game, and my thing is that I'm trying to get more into the music industry, and I want to have a better understanding that from the rap game, and then from a split to like the X Factor, and that like, did your daughter create the vision, or did you create the vision of like try to get to where she wants to be in the music industry?
So she created a vision, and I created the path to where it was going to be successful, if that makes sense. Kids, they going to be like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this. Okay, let me figure out how I can bring this to reality. Versus, you know what I'm saying, they watching the internet and think they can do everything that's on the internet. Let me set my kid up to win. So I let them talk to somebody who actually walked that path, even if I have to pay that person. Whatever I got to do to make them see real, because people going to tell you anything. I need somebody who's actually done it so they can know the steps it takes for them to do it, if that makes sense. Kids don't want to be gamers right now, but a lot of gamers are making millions of dollars. But nobody gonna just give you the game. You got to pay for the game. And that's the same with trainers. If you know your kid really great at baseball, him going to practice an hour and 30 minutes with 20 other kids, he's not going to get the time that he need, the skill that he need, if he's not getting it from a practice where it's just him and somebody else. You have to invest in your children. That's what I did. I invested in my kids. I did not force them to do anything I love to do. I let them do what they wanted to do, and I made sure they stood on everything I asked them to do after we invested in what you wanted to do.
I love it. Did you have a question in the back? You raised your hand real high.
Me? I did. I had a crazy story. Okay. So I was actually a bond trader. I was just reminiscing that I traded bonds institutionally for large corporations, and one of my accounts was Harrisburg. I forgot about this. That was my first time here. I came here to visit whoever used to manage our pension fund for the state or whatever. But I used to be a bond trader, and all the way back in 2010, before Instagram was popular, before influencers was a thing, I started this YouTube series called The Bond Girl, where I was teaching people what finance was, like financial terms, but from this urban perspective. 2010, if I would have stuck with that, all the way from 2010. And back then, if you worked in finance, when you had license, I had my Series 7, my 66, 63, some other crazy funky fly licenses as well. You couldn't do anything. They like own you, like you can't do nothing. And so I also, at the same time, even though I was very young and I had a lot of success, like usually if you're trading bonds institutionally, that's reserved for old white men. I was this 20-something-year-old black girl on all the desks that I ever worked in. I was the only black person, only young person, everything, right? And so I was going home every day, happy that I had the success, but I was miserable. How many people, like, you got a good job, you know you'd be grateful, but you go home and you're miserable every day? Okay, you're operating outside of your purpose. Remember we talked about purpose? Right. So I would go home and I would cry. And so I started this blog, this web series, because it was my creative outlet, and I really enjoyed it. And I knew that I wasn't allowed to do it with my job, and I was just rebellious and young, and I don't know. I just kept doing it. My boss found out. He was like, you see, you got this little thing going on. You might want to stop. I ain't stopped. And they fired me. And I wasn't mad. I just wasn't. I really wasn't. My income decreased drastically, but I felt like every moment that I was doing something that was outside of my purpose, I was robbing myself of time. That is the most valuable resource in this world, is time. And I felt like I was robbing myself of time. And so, and this is why I was saying, like, hey, for those of you who think that, stability is the be-all, end-all, right? Like, just imagine yourself. I don't want to be morbid, but just imagine yourself. One day we're going to die. Just imagine that we have the pleasure of knowing, hey, this is the end, right? And you're on your deathbed, and it's like, I'm 127, I'm good, right? Will you look back at your life and be like, I'm appreciative? You laughing at my 127? We'll put an age all the way out there so it don't seem sad, right? Good job, girl. Will you look back and be like, I did what I was supposed to do, or I want stability. I did what God made me to do. I was made for this. Like every day, ever since then, I know I am made for this, period. So my answer is yes, especially if you have responsibility in children, you have to be strategic about it. Like, I was young, didn't have any kids at the time. I got fired. I had a little bit of money saved up. It wasn't a whole lot, and I figured things out. That life ain't for everybody. It's really not. But I think you should, for sure, put a action plan in place and prioritize it over everything to get you in your purpose. Because if it's God's given purpose for you, do you know how many doors are going to be open for you so easily? If that's God's purpose for you, it'll be laid out. Like this woman here, this story about Flagey, I'm old. I listened to 2010 music, okay? I don't listen to nothing past 2010. So this is my first time hearing about her, but like this story about how what you're doing with your daughter is amazing, that you were put here to do that. And how everything just kind of laid out for her. Is it gonna be easy? No, not even a little bit. But you will survive, and you will be okay, and you will prosper. You will be fine.
And what she said is true, only because I'm a nurturer. Like, I'm a better mother than I am wife, anything. Like, literally, I think I was made to be a mom and to help my kids get to the next level. So, purpose. I think this is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I never was supposed to be working for nobody. I'm just being real. Like, those were just stepping stones. And I was so much a hustler until I created a catering business to get from the dental office that made me way more money during the recession than I ever could have made on anybody's job. And I got laid off because we was directly in the mouth with teeth. They didn't know what was going on. I was already like paying for extra stuff for them to do cheerleading. All this stuff was a lot of money. So I was cooking dinners on the side. But then when they laid us off, they paid us. And I invested in my catering stuff. And I started putting out, I do baby showers, I do this, I do that. And before I know it, baby, I was doing weddings and everything else. And when they called me back, guess who didn't have to go back? Me. So then I had my own schedule. I was in the catering, doing weddings. I could do one wedding a month and make the money I need for my bills and still go out and do what I need to do for Flagey to make sure she succeeds. So just giving you some other ways to do things without just actually quitting a job. Sometimes faith is real. Like, step out on faith, and you know if you need it. You ain't gonna sit right there and just let everything go to fall and you ain't got nothing.
Right.
Then you got kids looking at you crazy like, what? Oh no.
I'm hungry.
But yeah, you can go ahead.
But the path was laid out for her. Once she got on the path, everything laid out, everything was opened up.
And it's really, because we're talking a lot about purpose here, right? And I remember like being in college, being in high school and hearing folks talk about purpose, and it felt like something like that's floating in the air, so arbitrary, like, well, how do I find it? Where is that? Like, what do I need to do? When you are thinking about, or if you're someone who you're trying to figure out, okay, like, what is my purpose? It all starts with putting one foot in front of the other. What Nicole mentioned about like, I forget the exact term that you used, but the thing that came to mind when you said it was alignment. Operate in alignment. And you know, like, sometimes we don't always know what alignment truly looks like, but you know sure and well when you are not operating in alignment. You feel it on the inside, in your spirit, in your emotions, in your mental. So when we're looking at like, okay, like, what do I do? What's the direction that I take? What is my purpose? I have a business background, so I just think in frameworks. A framework that I tend to use, or I don't know, questions that I ask when I'm thinking like, okay, am I doing what I need to do? Am I operating in alignment? Number one, like, it's a twofold question of what brings me joy and what is exhausting me. Because that is going to tell you the direction of what do I need to continue doing and what do I need to stop doing. That's number one. What brings me joy? Like, when you realize that you are in a joyous state, note that. Enjoy that, be present in that moment. And when you realize that you are exhausted, okay, this is something I don't need to be doing no more. Whether that's something you're doing or whether that's somebody you around. Number two is also being able to say, okay, for me, and I'll say this, right? For me, the question is always like when I'm doing decision making, and life is simply just decision making. That's it. You're just making decisions. We all winging it. Like, we know we're experts, but for the most part, when you start, you're putting one foot in front of the other and you're winging it. So when you're looking at, okay, what do I do? What is the direction that I'm taking? Ask yourself, whether it's for a job or a decision or a business that you're about to start, is it a hell yes? Sit with that. I'm so sick because it changed my life when I started doing right. Is what I'm doing, is it a hell yes for me? Because if it isn't a hell yes, what is it? It's a hell no. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, right? And if I wanted to, like, and if this is something that I want to do, or this is something that I feel like, okay, I'm being called to do, how can I make this into a hell yes? What is required? How would I need to change this situation or the scope of this in order to make it a hell yes for me? But whenever you are like faced with a hard decision or you're trying to figure out which direction to go, what do? That is always the question I ask myself, is it a hell yes? And if it ain't a hell yes, it's a hell no, because that means I'm on the fence. And what they say in the Bible about being lukewarm. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Literally, like, what do you go to sleep thinking about? What do you wake up thinking about? What is constantly on your mind?
100%.
Real
Yes.
quick, just to kind of add to that, I think it's so hard sometimes to figure out what your purpose is. I think we all go to a lot of conferences and things, and we hear that. Something that you may want to think about is really sort of delving into what is your why?
Yes.
Like really spending some time in that place. Because being able to answer that question in a way that's more spiritual focused, because it's really not the thing, right? It's not the apartment building. It's not the grease trap. It's something else that I think the panel will say, we all will say what drives what we do. So really, I think starting there is a good place to getting you to closer to understanding your purpose. And then once you get to that place where you really live and breathe your why, the confidence will come, which we talked a little bit about that. And then with that confidence, you're going to go into spaces where you otherwise wouldn't go. And that's when the doors open. Because it'll press down a lot of those self-limiting beliefs that we have, because we all have them. Even if we aren't honest with ourselves about it, we can feel it when we walk into certain spaces because we feel like an imposter, but we're there. But those things will lead you to a place where you have more confidence, and you go into those spaces where you know folks are going to help you get to where you are. Because at the end of the day, as hard as this may be, some of the people that you've known for 30 years, you went to school with them, y'all were cool and all that, even college, may not be the group that you need to be around to get you where you need to go. And sometimes you've got to fire some people that used to be friends. The season has passed, and those folks can't get you where you need to go, because it becomes about the tribe that really kind of elevates you and gets you there.
I love that. So what I want to do, you have one more question. Is it for a specific panelist? Okay. Do you have a specific panel question as well, sir? Okay, so what I was going to say here, I'll say this and then we can figure it out. What I wanted to do was go ahead and ask each of the panelists to offer one of like your last gems, at least to the larger group. I know we have a little bit of time left, and I'm sure that the panelists as well would be more than willing to stay in the room. We can do a little bit of networking, have some one-on-one conversations, and chat a little bit more about where you all are. But just what's a last gem you want to leave us with, whether that is, I don't know, a quote, a book recommendation that you might have, something that has totally changed your life, and how can these folks keep in touch with you if they do want to reach out and continue these conversations that have happened in this room? Do you want to start, Nasir? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
All right, so this is how I talk, so forgive me. I'm going to slide, take my kids back down Baltimore, then catch my flight back to Houston. I'm going to do that in a few seconds. However, I do want to leave everybody with this. How many realtors we got in this room right here? Okay, that's a bet. All right, that's a bet. Check this out. I don't own real estate. I'm not a realtor. I don't own any commercial property per se in my name, right? And I'm not a commercial realtor, but I do 4 subleases to the federal government right now. So y'all pull y'all calculators out. Here we go. The federal government asked me to secure for them a 160,000 square foot building. 160,000. All I did was find a realtor to help me find that building. They gave me the square footage of that building, which is $67 a square foot. Now, at the time, I didn't know if that was high or low. I didn't even care. It wasn't about that. But I put $5 on top of that $67. So how much is my proposal to the federal government total? Come on, I barely graduated high school. Y'all supposed to have these quick numbers. How much? $72. $72 is my proposal to the federal government. I won that contract. That's for 15 years plus. We understand? So now, $5 times 167,000 is how much? I've been getting that for 8 years plus. I got 4 of them. The power of federal government contracting is real. Everybody in here has dope businesses, and I'm proud of everybody. But everybody need to be doing a piece of business with the federal government because it's not a fad, it's not up and down, and it's not going nowhere. The piece of gem that I will leave you is, before I get back on whatever that highway is to get back down to Baltimore, whatever 83? All right. Figure out what your LLC is, get that into sam.gov, write this down. These are real tangibles. sam.gov, register your LLC or your S Corp, whatever you have, into that database, get approved, get your UEI number and your CAGE code, C-A-G-E code, and then start submitting proposals for something that your business doesn't do. All right? Don't let that go over your head. There's 96,000 contract opportunities every day, ERR, every single day. That means the federal government has a need for a product and a service, and you might not offer that, but guess who does? Somebody on Google offer it. All right, I'm out of here. Peace.
Thank you, Jason.
All I can say is believe in yourself because nobody's going to believe in you for you. And that's where we fall short, the belief that we can do just what everybody else is doing. Nobody about to believe in you more than you. If I didn't believe that I could be my kid's agent or I could manage my kids, I wouldn't be in the situation I am in today. People will talk you out your dreams real fast. Don't let them. Just because that other person don't believe, don't let them talk you out your dream.
How can they keep in touch with you?
Yes, you can keep in touch with me. I'm Kia, K-I-A, J Brooks, on every social media platform. Also, www.kiajbrooks.com. And I answer questions. You can DM me. I'm real. I ain't none of these social media people.
Thank you.
So I didn't get to say anything when you guys started to get all spiritual, but that is my lane. So thank you for opening that up. For me, you know, when we talk about wealth and we talk about all the things we talked about today, it really means nothing if you aren't here, you know, or your family's not able to reap those benefits. So to me, I don't have any children, okay? So for me, I'm doing what I'm doing for other people's children, for your children, okay? So literally, I'm creating a path so that your kids be able to follow their dreams, right? So yes, I work at NASA. That's my day job. That pays my bills right now. It allows me to be the geek that I am, right? But at the end of the day, you know, when I was a kid and even now, I was an artist, right? And so my Business Girl and Space Club allows me to do that. But literally, I will tell you, right around the pandemic, I had a breakdown. Like I was literally achieving and achieving. I was going after a PhD, right? This is when I was going from doing the engineering to I said, this ain't enough. It ain't hitting, right? I went after it, achieved another thing, because I know I could. I'm like, I'm just gonna get this PhD real quick. right? And then I realized, okay, this is not about being educated, and this is a political game now. They're trying to haze me. Like, it don't have nothing to do with, can I do this work? I work at NASA, of course I could do this stuff. Now it's like, this is like a sorority fraternity kind of hazing thing, right? And what it did was it drove me, I got burnt out, right? Finished the qualifying exam, which is the hardest thing I ever did academically, and I had to put it down. And that was hard for me. But in those hard times, that's when I found my purpose, right? And that's when I found my purpose, and it was doing that thing I did when I was a little girl, coming up with these crazy ideas, and then drawing sketches out, but then actually making prototypes, right? So today, I'm building a program to teach your kids how to take an idea and how to create prototypes, right? So I'm teaching your kids how to use STEM, art, fashion, design. They will be the people of the future who are going to fuse STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math with art and design. So imagine a studio and a laboratory in a single space. Your kids will be the ones who will be working in these spaces, and they're going to be the future. They're going to be the ones solving our problems that require these multidisciplinary teams. So I'm doing this for y'all because I feel like this is my purpose, and any wealth that comes out of that, whether it's knowledge, whether it's financial, whatever it is, this is my purpose, and I'm doing it for y'all. And this is the thing that keeps me up at night, that I'm living my life for. So all the stuff we talked about today, if you don't feel that strongly about it, what are you doing? And that's just all I want to leave you with.
Thank you. Okay. So my parting words would be, well, first I want to ask a question. How many of you are here because you want to make more money? You want to close more deals? There's a lot of agents here. I need you to put your hands up high. Okay, great. So I'm going to tell you how to do it, okay? But I first have to tell you what money is. I have to explain it to you. This concept changed the game for me. Money is just a physical manifestation that represents and measures how much value you bring to other people. Not how valuable you are as a person, but how much value you bring to other people. So if you want to make more money, figure out how to bring more value, solve more problems, help people do things easier, faster, help people do things that they couldn't do before. As an agent, think outside the box on how you can help your sellers, your buyers, outside of just selling their homes, because we all know agents are a dime a dozen. How can you essentially be better? You be better not just by saying, hey, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. How can you actually bring more value to your fellow human beings? That is how you will make more money. That is how you will do it. The sooner you figure that out, it'll start rolling in. I promise you. So just remember that. Money is just a physical manifestation that represents how much value you bring to other people. Once you've locked that in your head of that's what money is, has nothing to do with who you are, the quality of person you are, none of that. It's just a physical manifestation of how many other people you help, then it changes the game on how you go after it. Okay? I'm bad at conclusions.
All right, I thought. And it's kind of derived from a little bit of what Nicole just mentioned, but your ecosystem. For me, it took a while for me to get to this place, but I have friends for different things. And what I mean by that is I have friends that I make money with that are giving me access to cap tables for startups, which basically means just a list of investors. I have friends that I take vacations with. I have friends that I play sports with. And I had to, for a long time, I struggled because my cup wasn't full in certain areas of my life personally. And along this journey of trying to achieve success, I needed to make sure that I was whole and healed. And so I struggled with, well, this group of people I'm hanging with, they're not in the mindset of this, right? But it doesn't mean that they're not good people, but they're just not good people for you in this space. And so I had to start to develop this meaning of, I have friends for different things, and that's okay, right? Which for me has led to a lot of success, and it has allowed me to still be connected to those people that we consider our day ones. Because I think somebody up here said, you don't have to, you can move on from those people, and you can for some. But for some, you might actually want to keep in your life. And you know what? They're going to be your day one people, right? You might meet up with them quarterly just to talk. It's the same people. They want to get together, talk about the old times and what you used to do. And it's like, all right, that's great. You might need a little piece of that every now and again just to keep yourself grounded and remind you of where you've come from. But then for the most part, for me, I'm spending a lot more of my time with the productive friend group that I have that wants to make money and wants to do more in life. And so for me, I would say your ecosystem of friends and family is very vital to divide that up based off of what your cup needs in order for it to be filled. Thank you.
Man, all this was good, right? There's so many nuggets. I'll say one of the things that really has helped me a ton is finding a good mentor. We all do something very different on this panel, and I'm sure in the audience you have probably different businesses or different ideas of what you want to do. But at the end of the day, a good mentor, someone you trust, and will carry you, will keep you accountable, because the road's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. Some of the days you're going to be tired. Even if you know you're in your purpose, you know you're in your why, it's going to be some hard days ahead. You can get through those, but having a partner in the game that knows what you're dealing with, that can understand your business model, will get you far. And sometimes that means using some of the money that you stored, what we talked about earlier, to pay those folks, right? So invest in yourself, invest in those mentors, and it will take you a long way.
I'll mention something real quick, right? And I haven't even told her that, but Nicole was actually a virtual mentor for me for a long time before I actually introduced myself to her. We're both from the same city. And Philadelphia, if you've ever been, is a very big city. And as Nicole has stated, you said small? It's a big city, but small from a connection standpoint. But for me, I could never, and I'm piggybacking off of what she said, I could never find those physical mentors that I could call, I could email. So I began to develop these virtual mentors, whether I talked to them or not. I was keeping up with them on YouTube, was it LinkedIn or social media, and was taking pieces of what they were putting out into the world and embodying that. So I've never given you that and told you that in person, but she has always been a virtual mentor for me. And I want you guys to know that your mentor may not be on the phone or accessible via email. They may be out there virtually for you, so don't forget that. And they could be dead.
And Benjamin Franklin is a mentor of mine. Okay. So keep that option as well.
They could be dead as well, y'all. I'm sorry.
Yes, amazing. So as mentioned, I believe some of these panelists are going to be able to stay afterwards and answer some of your questions. But I know that we have been in here and we've been having some amazing conversations. We've touched on so much in terms of employment, education, entrepreneurship, and more than anything, I think the foundation of all of that mindset. So I'm super elated with how this conversation has turned out and the outcome of it, and I hope that you all have at least one gem you kind of taking home with you. And my ask for you is that whatever that gem is that you have in your mind right now, when you leave this room, you go and you tell somebody else that gem that was not in this room. You go and you share that with someone else, because that is what building connections, and again, like, your network is your net worth. So make sure that if they were not at this net worth summit, you were actually sharing that gem with your network. One thing that I will leave you all with, I always love leaving folks with books. I am a bookworm. I love listening to books. I love reading books, and books have absolutely changed my life, no matter what category that they are in. But these are two of the books that I always recommend to people that have completely shifted not just my mindset. First, it was my mindset, and then it totally shifted my life. Financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of that. Number one, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Some of you may have heard of that, but if you have not, please read it. Because for me, and especially as people of color, sometimes we tend to we fixate so much on, like, okay, this is everything I need to do. This is everything that's coming up next. And oh my goodness. And now it creates this anxiety. And we don't feel good on the inside. And now we can't do the things and show up for the people the way that we need to. And that book teaches you how to really live in the now. Be here now. Be present. And understand that right now you have more than enough, you are more than enough, and all of the external, it barely even matters. Number two, the second book is A Guide to the Good Life. It touches on the daily, the act of stoicism. And it is, again, game changer, and really helps you to understand there are things in this life that we can totally control, things in this life that we have some control over, and things in this life that we have absolutely no control over. And many times we fixate and we have anxiety around all of the things that we cannot control. So let's not worry. So those are two that have changed my life. You can keep up with me at Precious Price, preciouscprice.com. If you just Google Precious Price, everything will pop up. I am on all social media platforms, and I would love to continue having conversations with y'all as well. So please do reach out. Let me know what you thought of the summit. Please reach out to our panelists as well, because they have, give it up for them one more time, please, please. They have sat here and they have shared so much of their expertise and so much of their wisdom with you all. You have one last thing, Madeline?
Just one more thing. I like to always leave takeaways. And so right there where Lisa's standing, what we created for you is a document that outlines, kind of similar to Precious said, books that we recommend that have been life-changing for me.
Yes.
Podcasts that I recommend you listen to, but you're going to get some extremely incredible nuggets from there, and a way to contact us as well. I don't sell anything. So if you're calling me and you're looking for me to sell you something, that's not what I do. I'm here to share information with you. When you call me, I'll set up a time with you for us to talk, and we can keep each other motivated. Because I've made my money, I'm good. But I want to help you do the same.
Reach out to everybody. Reach out to everybody. And you'll be able to ask questions to everybody afterwards. Is there anything last that we want to do? Maybe a group photo? Any last remarks?
One more time, please, for our speakers. And for y'all. I think, yes, well, let's do some photo ops, but hopefully y'all still have some time. And for our speakers who still have some time, I think it's definitely worthwhile getting even more questions, getting more acquainted. Closed mouths do not get fed. And so you might have expected the opportunity to ask some questions, so you're still granted that opportunity. Please come ask, come hither, come forth. But I'm just super grateful. I'm really super appreciative that I've been able to have a touch point with each and every one of you. I think it's an amazing, and it's really testament to just, humanizing success, for me at least. It could really be just one touch away, because they get money. So I thank y'all. I thank y'all for everyone who came. I appreciate y'all breaking bread with us. So Yes, the end. Photographers, pull up, photographers, pull up. Levels ready, to the floor. Don't forget, these are the handouts from Madeline. They're super helpful.
Actually made a property investment back in 2020. I remember the time, around the time everybody else was at risk. It was like the blow up of me.
Oh, it's only one. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out exactly how do I score in with investing. Finding more so like me and my sister were discussing more so that we need 5 key investors. Which we take a piece and what we're trying to do. It's more so we're coming with a proposal of what we can do for them. So we don't have upfront capital, but it's more so what we can offer to them so that they can get the job done for us in a way. Yeah.